29 years ago, in December of 1994, we would be blessed by the birth of an obscure title known as MotoToon Grand Prix, a title that was designed by a team within Sony specifically for the PlayStation 1 with the goal to create a driving simulation without detracting from the game's enjoyment, despite its cartoony and colorful visuals. While this game received mixed reception reviews, what Sony had in their hands was a foundation for something they could build upon, which they have been proven with its sequel receiving waves of positive reception all over the board, with many critics citing the very solid driving experience. Oh, and this sequel would see a Western release too. But now that they have found a working formula and a solid foundation, the team would proceed further, becoming its own entity within Sony's ranks and form their own studio for their ambitions. Something that would shake the industry for the next few decades in more ways than one, with their new title, Gran Turismo. Gran Turismo. What else could be said at this point? The series many gamers would sing praises as the one to start a revolution within the racing genre. With Gran Turismo 1 and 2 showcasing that realism to an arcade-driven market is still fun, then we got Gran Turismo 3 and 4, which further improved upon what has been built up with even more content while giving players the graphical capability of the PlayStation 2 graphics, pushing boundaries with each release until the time would come for the series to enter the next generation of consoles. Starting with Gran Turismo HD, a free downloadable demo until it was replaced by Gran Turismo 5 Prologue, showcasing the high fidelity graphics with the more powerful PlayStation 3, followed by a full release of Gran Turismo 5. This game was received positively thanks to the improvement in graphical fidelity, gameplay, the quantity of cars, tracks, and online racing. They even added stuff like Top Gear related content, WRC, and NASCAR licenses. So things are looking good for Gran Turismo at the moment. Surely nothing can go wrong, right? 3 years after the release of Gran Turismo 5, Polyphony would follow up with another sequel. Released at the very end of the PlayStation 3 lifespan. Seriously though, this game came out like a couple of days before the PlayStation 4 was released and is not available for said console, so I have no idea what they were even thinking with that strategy. But anyways, let us talk about the game. It starts out with an intro cutscene containing a montage of gameplay footage and a bit about the Ayrton Senna Institute, something to look forward to in-game and pretty neat of them to put in the intro. Before we proceed, let's take a look at the UI design first. The design is certainly a lot less muddled over Gran Turismo 5's UI, borrowing a lot of design elements from Microsoft's Metro UI, plus the quick drop-down menu is very convenient. It also has a lot of really neat details regarding cars that we'll have to talk about later. Unlike previous titles though, we got a bit of hand-holding to go through first, with a tutorial so the game can teach us about the driving mechanics. But then the first red flag starts to pop up, as we are given 30,000 credits to spend, and if you're someone who has played any previous Gran Turismo titles, you probably think, oh wow, that's quite the money to start with. I'll be able to grab a pretty sweet ride from the used car dealership. Well, about that, the game forces you to buy one car, one very specific car, the Honda Fit. I honestly don't know why they decided to design it this way, and also the used car dealership does not exist in Gran Turismo 6. Like, why though? Everybody loved that stuff, why even remove it? Did people really softlock themselves so often that they had to remove the feature altogether? But anyways, the game certainly starts with a bit of a downer, but surely the gameplay is going to pick up, right? Well, luckily, the most important thing, the driving, is still extremely good, and it is certainly at its best thanks to how the cars react and handle quite realistically, along with the addition of new dynamic weather and time transitions. Just don't expect the damage model to be there though, it's way too insignificant to have much impact. With every single track from Gran Turismo 5 returning, except for the Top Gear test track. Sorry boys, it looks like the Stig roleplay is off the table for this one. We get a whole lot of driving to do, with the track count for Gran Turismo 6 going up to a whopping 90 tracks, including tracks such as Silverstone, Spa, Willow Springs, Twin Ring Motegi, Brands Hatch, Mount Panorama, and also new additions such as the Red Bull Ring, Gran Turismo Arena, Matterhorn, and many others. And there are some rally tracks, but even in the GT mode, there is apparently only one rally event to do in there. As per usual, with Gran Turismo, driving in this game certainly gives off a very unique experience thanks to the visual design of the tracks mixed with a plethora of originally composed music, with genre variety including jazz, lounge, rock, dance, and electronic. You can also use music from previous Gran Turismo games for both racing and the menu, so for those with an itch to listen to some old Gran Turismo soundtracks, you can use the playlist feature to get some of that nostalgia kick. Despite being developed for the PlayStation 3, Gran Turismo 6 surprisingly looks as if it's a PlayStation 4 title, and it's super noticeable when comparing the same tracks in Gran Turismo 5. Gran Turismo 6 just feels more complete or polished overall. Although there's definitely some rushed work here or there, especially with cars. Anyone can easily notice just how all the cars now have an interior view, but the standard cars have no interior detail, just black voids. But speaking of cars, it seems Polyphony has done it again and increased the number of cars up to a massive 1,200 cars. Somehow they managed to add 200 variations of the Skyline. I'm joking, of course. Or am I? Now, there are neat things about the dealership as mentioned before, mainly how the menu will give you the list of cars separated by categories and whether they fit for an event, and also no more rank limitations for purchasing cars. As usual, in Gran Turismo you can upgrade cars with the usual performance parts, along with some visual upgrades for body kits, spoilers, rims, decals, and in particular for Gran Turismo 6 would be the paint job, because this time they did something quite interesting with the colors. To unlock certain colors, you must obtain specific cars. A specific car will give you a specific color that you can put on whatever car you desire. While this feature can be annoying to some, it does add a bit of a reason to consider collecting these cars. Sadly though, they have removed the animation for oil changes and the car wash. It's not exactly something important, but still a shame to see the series lose a bit of neat detail. They did also add a couple of free GT Vision cars. For those unfamiliar with GT Vision, it is basically a collection of concept cars specifically designed by manufacturers for the game, like the SRT Tomahawk for example. You've probably heard of that one thanks to Gran Turismo 7, but of course there are others like Aston Martin DP100, Chevy Chaparral 2X, Mitsubishi Concept, Lexus LFLC, and many others. You can use these for GT mode, which is neat, but what about the progression of the mode itself? Has there been any changes, or is it the same as the previous games? Well, this is going to be a bit interesting. Progression now is based on star ratings. These star ratings are earned from racing results, and they determine whether you unlock things like further license tests and more championships. Just don't be surprised at seeing the small number of events in the Novice Championship. There will be way more later. And surprisingly, Gran Turismo 6 would have the lowest number of stages per license test, with only 5 stages per license from B to S. Though not the lowest in total, since Gran Turismo 1 still holds it with a total of 24 stages. While we were talking about events, we might as well talk about some of the mechanics introduced to races. The PP rating, which was introduced in Gran Turismo 5, it has made return and solely exists to make sure players use a car that is adequate for the event. Although this does mean you can't really use overpowered cars, but that shouldn't be an issue since the opponents are easier. Speaking of which, the maximum number of opponents has been upped to 16. B-Spec mode makes a return, but its progression is not separate from the main Gran Turismo mode, which makes this sort of into an AFK mode. However, the mode is only available for event races, so no easy license tests or challenge races. In here, B-Spec mode feels a little bit like A-Spec mode. While in Gran Turismo 4 and 5 you could give inputs on how your driver should be driving, in here you can directly take control of your driver and do the inputs yourself. So it's like a little bit of a mix of A-Spec mode and B-Spec mode, making it like A-Spec 1.5 sort of. So basically, if you feel tired, you can let the AI drive for you, and whenever you feel rested, you can regain control of him and give him inputs the way he wants. There's also been new events introduced into this game, such as Sierra Rally, a special event that takes place at Circuito de la Sierra. My apologies if I'm butchering these names. A track that is somehow even longer than the Nürburgring, with the length of 27 kilometers based on the mountain ranges of Spain. There's one-make races which require a specific manufacturer or even a specific model of a car to race in. There's also night events, but there's a big problem with this thanks to the very inconsistent headlight. Some cars in Gran Turismo 6 have working headlights, but a number of them are broken, causing night races to be equivalent to blind races. Shame too, because night racing certainly can look gorgeous. We also have the Goodwood Festival of Speed in here, a series of hill climb events that feature classic and modern cars on the track of Goodwood. Would recommend checking the event on YouTube if you have an interest in automotive stuff. But it doesn't end there. You also get to drive on the moon. On the fucking moon. This game has lunar missions, which is a special event that lets you drive the lunar roving vehicle on the surface of the moon. Weird stuff, but hey, if they're gonna have some made up tracks to spice things up, then I don't see what's wrong with having these as an optional thing. Also, driving on the moon feels really weird at first. The event is based on the Apollo 15 mission and contains 3 missions, with access to the event being unlocked after completing the National A license tests. We also have the Red Bull X Challenge, a series of events with the goal of teaching players on how to drive the futuristic Red Bull X 2014 cars, featuring the legend himself, Sebastian Vettel. With the last one being the most interesting addition to the game, which is the previously mentioned Ayrton Senna Institution, a tribute to the legendary Brazilian driver himself, consisting of a short film called Ayrton's Wish, following Senna's career and a series of races which allows you to drive some of Senna's iconic cars such as the Lotus 97T and the McLaren MP44. The tribute was released as a free update in 2014 as commemoration for the 20-year anniversary since Senna's passing. Things like these are what separates Gran Turismo 6 from every other racing title available in the market even in current day. The amount of care and detail towards the motorsport history and everything automotive related, which is a big shame that Gran Turismo 6 as of current is the worst selling Gran Turismo mainline or number title, despite being a repeat of Gran Turismo 2 and 4. The formula of use its previous release as a basis and expand further, offering more content and a more polished experience. But alas, the horrible release window, the fact that this game has no PlayStation 4 version ultimately capped the sales to a certain degree. And there's still something that I've not mentioned yet. The online aspect, which sadly has been taken offline back in 2018 in an effort to make people go and buy the next title, Gran Turismo Sport, which is available on the PlayStation 4. Seeing how these mainline titles' online services go down so quickly is yet another reason why so many people are against how Gran Turismo Sport and Gran Turismo 7 have now decided to embrace the nature of live service. At least with Gran Turismo 5 and 6, despite no longer having online access, you can still play them and every bit of content that was made available. I cannot say that I'm confident Gran Turismo 7 would have that luxury, but who knows if they will make it fully playable offline later down the line, or if Gran Turismo 8 would take the feedback and return to the series' former glory. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, a like and a subscribe does help out the channel a lot. I'll see you guys hopefully next week with another video. Take care.